All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope y'all are having a good day so far. So I had this recommended to me quite a while ago. Let me see now. Looks like about 5 months ago. This is from one of my favorite basketball YouTube channels. This is Woo Hoops, and it's been a while since I reacted to one of his vids. Not intentionally whatsoever. This one is going to be an interesting topic for me because I think this is something I need to learn more of. And I think that goes for all of us. This is titled The Most Famous Trade in NBA History, CP3 to the Lakers. And every time I dig into this subject, I feel like I learn something new or I walk away with a different perspective. And this is probably going to be no different. I am thinking that the way I used to see it was David Stern just like he blackballed it because he didn't want to see too much power going to the Lakers. But then the more I got to understand the scenario where it's like the NBA technically owned that team during that time, the Hornets that is, and they got to make the decisions they wanted. So they didn't want to give up their star for something they didn't feel was good enough for them to be able to sell the team to somebody else, if you know what I mean, because having a star brings more value to the team when you sell it. But that being said, once I look at what the trades actually were that they went for instead, that didn't really make sense to me either. So I'm wondering if Woo Hoops has any more information that I can learn from here that can help me understand exactly what went down. But all that being said, you guys, let's get into this. I'm gonna have my learning cap on this time, so less me telling stuff and more me listening to stuff. So, guys, I'm gonna link the original video from Woo Hoops down below in the description, as I always do. You also see a list of channel members down there. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you all. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Woo, he's got a cool catalog of videos. He doesn't put out a whole bunch of content, but when he does, it's always quality. So anyways, you guys, I say let's get to it. Like the video if you could, hype it if you got him, and let's rock.
The date is December 8th, 2011. The NBA is currently 161 days into a lockout. No games, no practices. No trades, no free agency. For over 5 months, the league has been frozen. However, the end is near, as on this very day, the 30-team owners would all gather in the league's office in New York to ratify the newest collective bargaining agreement, the deal that would effectively end the lockout. Moments after signing off on the new CBA, the mood in the room would shift.
As we're in this room, all of a sudden there's kind of this rumor that goes around the room about a trade.
At 5:57 p.m., a tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski would read, "The Hornets are near a deal to send Chris Paul to the Lakers for Andrew Bynum and Lamar Odom." Predictably, this would cause a stir. But to understand the magnitude of what has just happened, we must go back to the very first trade between the Lakers and the Hornets.
And all I'll say about that is Odom and Bynum. That's a decent trade, but you are lacking that star power for a resale.
All the way back to 1996.
CP3 was a mega star at this point.
With the 13th pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
On June 26, 1996, the Charlotte Hornets would select Kobe Bryant with the 13th pick in the NBA draft. However, the Hornets were picking on behalf of the Lakers, who they have traded this pick to a day prior in exchange for center Vlade Divac. For the Hornets, the move made perfect sense at the time.
All I'll say about that is that Vlade said he almost retired because he was like, you can't trade me if I retire. He loved the Lakers so much that he did not want to leave. He was willing to stop playing basketball. But he got convinced over time.
They had traded away both Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson in the previous 2 seasons and needed stability in the front court. Their plan? To build around star guard Glenn Rice. And in the short term, it worked. Charlotte won a franchise record of 54 games in 1997, then 51 in 1998. But postseason success never followed. They were swept in the first round in 97 and eliminated by the Bulls in the second round in 98. Off the court, drama would surround the Hornets owner George Shinn who will be accused of sexual assault and kidnapping by a Charlotte woman.
This seems so common for team owners in all sports, man. It's so freaking messed up.
His trial will be nationally televised in 1999, and despite being acquitted, the damage was done. He had lost the faith of the city. After staying out of the spotlight for a couple years, George Shin's next public move was to petition the city to build him a new arena.
You were trying to build a new arena. It was put to a vote of Charlotte voters. 57% of the people voted no.
And in 2002, Shin will be ran out of town, relocating the team
to move the Hornets to New Orleans.
After 2 seasons as a first round out in the Eastern Conference, more changes would come for the team as they would be shifted to the tougher Western Conference for the 2005 NBA season. And as a result, the Hornets would bottom out as the worst team in the West.
Jeez.
That, however, would award the Hornets with the 4th overall pick in the 2005 NBA draft. Their selection, the future face of the franchise.
With the
CP3
4th
was
pick
a
in the
bad
2004 NBA draft, the New Orleans Hornets select Chris Paul from Wake Forest University.
Now back to the 1996.
Have you guys seen Hornets CP3? Most people talk about what he did in LA. Dude, when he was a Hornet, he was an absolute beast. The guy was like throwing it down back then. He was dunking and crap. So fast too. Like I feel like a lot of people see him as a slow, methodical point guard because that is what he became, and he was great at doing that also. But man, when he was young, he was so athletic and fast.
NBA draft. For the Los Angeles Lakers, the trade was done for 2 reasons. 1, to free up cap space to sign Shaquille O'Neal. And 2, because Jerry West believed that he had found a gem in Kobe Bryant, a pairing that would usher the Lakers into a new era. And West's vision would play out to perfection. Under Kobe and Shaq, the Lakers would become one of the most dominant 1-2 punches in sports history, winning 3 straight championships. In 2005,
you know, if Scottie stayed in front of Kobe there, the weak side help wouldn't have had to move over.
To perfection.
Look at this. Let's watch it again.
Under Kobe and Shaq,
Okay,
the Lakers
got you. All right. Now Sheed's got eyes on
become
you.
one of the most dominant 1-2 punches.
Yeah, he needed 2 helpers to stop Kobe after that. So 3 guys on Kobe, which is why this big man right here is wide open. Rasheed almost got back to him, man, but straight up, it doesn't seem like it was that great of a move because Scotty's a good defender.
Under Kobe and Shaq,
Bop, he got him just like that.
The Lakers would be.
And he's out. What if Scotty? That's one of those what ifs now. What do you guys think? What would have happened if Scotty stayed in front of him?
Become one of the most dominant 1-2 punches in sports history, winning 3 straight championships. In 2005, the NBA and the Players Union agreed to a new 6-year collective bargaining agreement, a major win for the players, who would secure a 57% share of all basketball-related income, paving the way for problems ahead. For the Lakers, after a few down seasons without Shaq, they would make a franchise-altering move, trading for Pau Gasol in February of 2008. Kobe and Pau will lead them to another 3 straight finals appearances and 2 more championships. But while the Lakers continue to stack rings, for the rest of the league, parity has become a big problem. In fact, as early as 2006, David Stern would receive a letter from a group of concerned owners demanding changes. Amongst the owners who signed the letter was Hornets owner George Shin. The concerns weren't subtle. By 2011, 22 of the 30 NBA teams were reportedly losing money.
Wow. In the mid-2000s. Is an entirely new economic model. The players, okay.
Under the existing structure, with players taking home 57% of all revenue, this system was no longer viable for small market teams. And competitively, the NBA has now become a pay-to-win league. In the 2011 season, the top 10 spending teams averaged 50 wins, while the bottom 10 spending teams averaged just 32 wins. At the top of the spending list was of course the Los Angeles Lakers, and their owner Jerry Buss had no intentions of slowing down.
Am I misunderstanding that I have a buddy, and I believe he mentions that baseball has turned into something like this now, where you've got certain teams like the Dodgers who are spending a ton of money on their players, and then other teams like our Arizona Diamondbacks here who are not spending a lot of money on their players. So like there's like a huge imbalance when it comes to the pay.
And why would
Let me know if I'm even on target on that one, but that's how I understood it. So it's almost like a pay-to-win league, in other words.
In 2011, has just signed a 20-year-long TV deal with Time Warner worth around $4 billion, with no obligation to share the revenue with the rest of the league. And evidently, resentment began to brew.
So wait, guys, if the NBA just made a new deal when it comes to the networks and all this, and you know where all the gambling is in it now, and then all the new network deals, it was like it was like $5 billion or something like that. $5 billion, like something along those lines. A lot of money is floating around here. Were they losing money again? Like, is that why they had to take the gambling money recently?
I come up to you and I gave you $1 million, you'd have a smile on your face, you'd be happier than a pig in mud. But if I had $10 million and only one of us, only the two of us had access to it, and then I gave you that same $1 million, you would say, wait a minute, why do you get the other 9?
That same 2011 season, the Lakers would also be swept by the Mavericks in the playoffs. And with the Lakers dynasty under Kobe falling apart, another is on the horizon, as earlier that season, LeBron James and Chris Bosh would join the Miami Heat, forming a big three in the East. The Lakers thus began looking for their own young superstar to pair with Kobe Bryant, a superstar for one last run, a superstar that would transition the Lakers into a new era. They would set their eyes on one target, Chris Paul. But before we get to that, a quick word from today's sponsor.
All right.
If you want to succeed in anything, you got to be able to lock in, which is what I do every other week when I begin editing. And nothing was more helpful to me this week than Factor.
Dude.
Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, chef-crafted.
Before I started my crazy diet, I tried Factor once because it was like a 40% off deal for first-time buyers.
Meals straight to your door, and they're
Just
ready
once.
in literally 2 minutes. What I love about Factor is how much time it saves me without sacrificing the nutrition. No grocery run, no prep, no cleanup.
My problem was I was so big that I needed to eat at least 2 of these per sitting. So it was not financially viable for me, but I have since lost like 40 pounds. So doing much better.
Just real food with real ingredients, no refined seed oils, no refined sugars, no artificial colors or sweeteners. And most of the meals I order have over 30 grams of protein, some even 50 grams. That's huge for workout days and for days that I'm editing. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code WOOFB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year.
Yep, I think it was one of these deals. It was like a 50% off deal that I ended up using it on. Hey man, half off is half off.
That's code WOOFB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year.
Because if I remember the calculations, if it's half off, then each meal is like $5. And at that point, that's actually not a bad deal. It was when it was like full price at like $10 or $12 that I'm like,
Offer only available for new Factor customers with codes and qualifying auto-renew subscription purchase. Thank you, Factor. Now, back to the video.
All right, well, that was me reacting to an ad segment.
Being drafted by the New Orleans Hornets, Chris Paul would spend his first 2 seasons not in Louisiana, but in Oklahoma City. With New Orleans recovering from Hurricane Katrina, the Hornets would temporarily relocate to OKC. And in OKC, Paul quickly became a fan favorite, winning Rookie of the Year and helping pave the way for the OKC Thunder. After 2 seasons, the team would return to New Orleans. In Paul's young career, he would play for 2 cities, but the same team. In Paul's first season playing back in New Orleans, he would be on a meteoric rise, having arguably his greatest season ever, finishing second in MVP voting behind only Kobe Bryant. He would also lead the Hornets to the second round of the playoffs.
It feels great to know that we're at the first round. We'll be the top Dallas team.
After the season,
dude, look at those numbers, man. 24, 15, and 11. Yeah, this was a crazy era. He was on the rise. Steve Nash was getting all the attention as like the best point guard. And then Darren Williams was also on the rise. Good time for pure point guards. The last time for pure point guards.
Chris Paul was signed a 3-year, $68 million extension to stay in New Orleans. For Hornets owner George Shinn, he would announce in 2009 that he had prostate cancer, and combined with mounting financial difficulties, Shin was looking to sell the team. However, due to the team's financial woes and uncertain future, he would have problems finding a suitor. And with the franchise continuing to burn through money and with Shin not financially capable of sustaining operations, in December of 2010, the NBA would step in to purchase the Hornets. The Hornets would become a league-owned team, which also meant that the Hornets were owned by every owner in the league. Tension would be immediate. One of the Hornets' first moves was a February 23, 2011 trade with the Sacramento Kings, where the Hornets absorbed Carl Landry's $3 million contract. Mark Cuban would quickly let it be known post-trade that the other owners would not take a passive approach regarding the team's decisions, saying, quote, "If New Orleans is taking back $2 million and the team is losing money, and I own 1/29th of it, I'm going to go against the grain and say that's just wrong." Later in the playoffs, the Hornets would be matched up with the Lakers in the first round. Chris Paul would have a historically great individual series, including a Game 4 masterpiece where he would in 3 quarters finish with the most points, assists, and rebounds for either teams.
What a take.
A jaw-dropping move by CP3.
The Lakers, however,
absorbed the contact too,
would show their championship pedigree and finish the series in 6. With the future of the Hornets' ownership uncertain, and with Chris Paul entering the final year of his contract and refusing to sign an extension, New Orleans begins to survey the market for a potential trade. And just like 15 years prior, the Lakers came calling. In an article by Chris Broussard and Mark Stein, they will list the Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets, Atlanta Hawks, the LA Clippers, and the LA Lakers as the teams that have shown the most interest in Paul. For the Lakers, it was a perfect fit, replacing the aging Derek Fisher in the starting lineup, who by the way is about to have a lot on his plate off the court as the president of the Players Union. For the NBA, this was another example of a player leaving a small market team to join a big market team. In just the previous 2 seasons, LeBron James and Chris Bosh has joined the Miami Heat, Carmelo Anthony had forced his way to the New York Knicks, and Darren Williams had just landed with the Brooklyn Nets. And now, another small market team is about to lose its star. Except this time, the league itself owned the team.
I would have loved if Phoenix could have got this version of Chris Paul at this point of his career. Because over in Phoenix, it was winding down with Nash. We got some good years out of Dragic, though. He played great for us. But yeah, Chris Paul, that's another level.
But before any of this was possible, there were bigger problems on the horizon.
The NBA's collective bargaining agreement expires midnight Thursday, and if there's no deal by then, well, the owners could impose a lockout, and you've heard that one before, haven't you?
On July 1st, 2011, the NBA owners officially had enough. They would begin a work stoppage, triggering the 2011 NBA lockout.
They informed us that they've gotten the votes necessary amongst their group to lock us out, and that's the reality that we're faced with right now.
During the lockout, players were barred from team facilities, teams were barred from free agency, trades, and contract negotiations. There were 2 major problems at hand. 1, owners wanted a hard salary cap, a system to help out small market teams and eliminate the stacking of rosters from major markets.
Was to create an economic system where all 30 teams could compete for a championship and create hope in every one of their communities that their team could compete.
And 2, despite a $4 billion revenue, like previously mentioned, 22 of the 30 teams were operating at a loss. And with the players' share of all basketball-related income at 57%, the owners wanted a 50-50 split instead.
We would create a system in which every team, if well managed, had the opportunity to be profitable.
But as weeks passed, as months passed,
on paper, that it all makes sense. If you got a bunch of teams that are stacked and are making a buttload of money, and their players are making a buttload of money, but then you got the other half of the league that's not stacked, no star power, and they're losing money. I guess I understand. I mean, it makes sense on paper, but I mean, a lot of things do, and then the execution sucks.
Season games were being canceled.
If there were no NBA contract dispute, 3 games could have been played last night, but that's wishful thinking with the lockout dragging on and sources saying no new talks between the players and the owners are even scheduled.
Understanding the severity of the situation, the Players Union would come down from their 57% revenue share.
You know, we've made huge concessions and compromises as this process has gone on. We currently have gone from 57% to 53%, which would, be equivalent to, approximately $1.1 billion over 6 years.
But for David Stern,
over 6 years? I see the NBA as a business. I see owning an NBA team as a business, and I see being a basketball player as a job. So I might have a different opinion on this than some people, but to me, if the business is operating at a loss, then yeah, we either need less employees or we need to pay less. Something has to happen, or else nobody has a job. So that's where this gets a little tricky. But it's also not balanced because you got some teams that are making a ton of money, So it's not the whole NBA is losing money. It's individual teams that are operating at a loss. And I think that detail complicates this a lot, because it's not just like my business. It's my business, but we're operating under the league's rules as far as how much money we can make. I'm curious what you guys think, because I can't really lean one way or the other on this one. I don't know what actually solves this problem. Because no matter what, you're going to have the different markets are going to make different amounts of money. It's always going to be that way. Like the Lakers, I'm pretty sure still to this day, and from the time I was born, are the number one market as far as selling merch and all that stuff that is needed to make a lot of money as a team.
That wasn't enough, and by November of 2011, he would issue an ultimatum. If there were no deal by November 9th, the proposed 50% share of the players would drop to 47%.
Because I deal with the players, until we have an agreement on everything, we have an agreement on nothing.
The players, however, would fight back, threatening the league with an antitrust lawsuit.
The players feel that they're not prepared to accept any ultimatums. They thought it was extremely unfair to give them an ultimatum that they had to accept their proposal or confront a rollback to 47%.
Ultimately, the players would agree to a 50% revenue share, but a soft cap would remain. On November 26, 2011, a tentative agreement will be reached to end the lockout.
The temporary agreement could become permanent next week, but there's still a lot of work to do.
According to ESPN, if it all goes well today, the deal will be ratified on Thursday.
And a date of December 8th will be set for the owners to meet in the league's offices in New York to ratify the new collective bargaining agreement. But until then, lockout rules would remain in place. No practices and games for the players, and no trade talks for front offices.
When there's a lockout, there's a moratorium on everything. You can't make trades, you can't do anything.
And at last, we arrive on that fateful December 8th day, where the 30 owners would gather in New York
to ratify the new CBA. As we're in this room, all of a sudden there's kind of this rumor that goes around the room about a trade.
The rumor in question? At 5:57 p.m., Adrian Wojnarowski would tweet, "The Hornets are near a deal to send Chris Paul to the Lakers for Andrew Bynum and Lamar Odom."
So there's no way a trade could be happening if we're all in this room doing league business.
24 minutes later, Wojnarowski would add, "Hornets working to finalize details on a 3-team deal to send Chris Paul to Lakers, Gasol to Rockets, and Odom, Kmart, Scola to New Orleans."
Wait, so did I understand it correctly? These negotiations were happening at a time where it is not permitted to be wheeling and dealing any players or talking to other teams like that. Is that what ultimately went down? Is this why it gets vetoed? Because they broke the rules?
The trade was happening while everybody is in this room, so teams felt like, how is that possible?
Then, 45 minutes later, the prophecy has come true. A deal has been reached in principle to send Chris Paul to the Los Angeles Lakers.
So they all attacked the league and said this wasn't fair.
At 8:52 p.m.
Interesting. Okay. Very interesting.
Wojnarowski would update the situation. NBA owners have pushed Commissioner David Stern to kill the deal.
Okay, then I feel like so many of us have misunderstood this scenario because so many of us blame David Stern for vetoing this deal. But all the NBA owners all together in one room while this trade went down behind everyone's back is saying that's BS. You can't do a trade while everybody else is occupied. And David Stern is the commissioner. He works for the owners. Like, that's his job. So if all the owners, except for maybe the Lakers owner, are all saying, hey, kill this deal, that wasn't fair, I don't think he had a choice, you guys. I know this messed up Kobe's legacy, but why did they have to do this trade at that time? Why couldn't they do it after the negotiations were over and everything was set? I think that's whoever made this deal was, I don't know if this is like Jim Buss or who made this deal at the time that they made this deal. But I think that's the person we might want to like point our finger at. Like, you messed it up. David Stern is just like, I had nothing to do with this, you know? But also, wait, I'm still confused. If the NBA owned the Hornets, who on their side was making this deal? It's not just from the Lakers side. It takes two to tango. So what the hell? The more I understand this, the more it still gets me. This is such a weird story.
And just 20 minutes later, it was all over. The NBA has caved to pressure from owners that the appearances of this deal on heels of a lockout had to be stopped.
And I guess my only bottom line is for David Stern, just to defend him a little bit. If the entire all the owners are telling you, yeah, you can't do this, man. That's not fair. You kind of have to back down, don't you? This is one of those. It's not one owner that's mad. It's everybody that you work for is pissed off at you, you know, and feel like you cheated them. I understand why David Stern did this. I don't understand why David Stern had to be part of this, making this deal at that moment. Why did he do that? Or was he a part of it? I don't know. That's where I'd point my finger at David Stern. Like, what the hell were you thinking? Of course you were going to piss everybody off.
David Stern...
All you had to do was wait. Just wait a little bit.
Didn't reject the trade as commissioner. He rejected the trade as governor of the New Orleans team because he wasn't asked permission to okay the trade.
Okay, now that makes sense, Jeannie. So this happened behind his back. So this happened behind his back and all the owners' back. I'm starting to understand this more.
So now he just calls off the trade and wants everybody to cool down because now you had a lot of teams thinking there was some funny business going on.
The owners who were leading the charge? Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban and Cleveland Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert. Cuban would say, "We just had a lockout to help small market teams keep their players. This trade sends the wrong signal." Dan Gilbert
fair
would pen a letter to the league saying, quote, "When will we just rename 25 of the 30 teams the Washington Generals?" But despite the veto, the trade wasn't dead, as all three teams would continue to work on a revised package to submit to the league. However, at the exact same time, Lamar Odom would demand a trade. Lakers GM Mitch...
Okay, and the fact that this happened a year after the Miami Big Three, that's also... I kind of get that too. And like why Dan Gilbert's upset about this. He's like, yeah, everyone is just stacking up on just a couple of teams in the league, and everybody else, like what? What's the point of drafting a number one pick, then becoming a star, and then they all just team up on one of the mega teams? You know what I mean? I see that as a problem as well. I see it as a problem today, though. I don't see that this fixed the problem. That's the real thing. Like in the moment in 2011. I think I would be agreeing with all these things. Like, yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. I understand that for the future. But here we are in 2026, and look at the Philadelphia 76ers. What the hell's going on here? So I don't think this solved the problem. unfortunately.
Kupchak, tired of waiting for approval from the league, would trade Odom to Dallas, a move made in a moment of haste.
But Mitch Kupchak at the time panicked and moved Odom to Dallas.
So now you can't resurrect the trade because you just broke up the pieces that made it.
When asked about the Odom trade, Kobe Bryant would say, "To be honest with you, I don't like it." And just 6 days later, Chris Paul would be traded to LA, the LA Clippers.
City.
For Chris Paul, this time he almost played for the same city, but two different teams. That season in the playoffs, the Lakers would fall in the second round again, this time to the former home of the Hornets, OKC. For Kobe, this would be the last playoff series he would ever play in. In 2013, Chris Paul would finally get to replace Derek Fisher, not on a basketball team, but as the president of the NBA's Players Association. After trading Paul, New Orleans would go into a full rebuild, finishing with the worst record in the league. Their reward? The future face of the Hornets.
With the first pick in the 2012 NBA draft, the New Orleans Hornets select Anthony Davis.
Yeah. And
Just
guess
like
who ends up going to a big market team as well? He goes to the Lakers eventually, now doesn't he? Did the problem get fixed, guys? I don't think so.
Kobe Bryant, just like Chris Paul almost. Anthony Davis will be traded from that franchise to the Lakers, helping lead the team to another NBA championship.
Man. Great video. Dude, the link is down below if you want to check out his channel. Highly recommend it, obviously. This is great. Do the Hornets solely exist to just like trade their stars to the Lakers? Is this like is there an operation going on here that we weren't aware of? Okay. So where am I on this? I still can't, guys. I think no matter how I could absorb all of the information about this and still not know how I feel about it. I think the league was in a tough situation there. Everyone was stacking the deck, and a lot of the owners were pissed off about this. And yeah, the Chris Paul thing, it did send a bad message at that moment. I get it. But once again, this didn't stop anything from happening. You know, it didn't stop the big market teams from stacking the deck. You know, right at this time, we had Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire teaming up in New York. You know, we had a version of this in LA with Dwight Howard and Steve Nash going there with a lot of star power, but, you know, that didn't work because of health. But star power-wise, it sure as hell did, you know? So I think that's where I'm at. I think I would be all about it if this actually did solve some of these issues with, you know, all the talent going just in a couple of these teams and just joining up together and bully the rest of the league. But I don't feel like it stopped it. So at that point, I could say, well, good intentions, but, you know, the road to hell is paved by good intentions, and I don't think this one worked out. So anyways, you guys, I think that's my final view on this topic is just, I think the intentions were correct, and it just turns out that no matter what, there was no stopping the players from teaming up in markets together if they so choose to do. So I see this took a little bit of empowerment away from the players, but I feel like they've gained so much more empowerment since then that what was even the point? Should have just let Chris Paul play in the freaking Lakers, man. Anyways, I'm out of here. That's my take. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Guys, like the video if you could. I'd appreciate it. Hype the vid, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you want more content like this. And, yeah, subscribe if you want me to beat Scap Attack in my bet with him. We got to get to 110K subs, guys. Help me get there. I'd appreciate it. And be water, my friends.